Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Week 14 recap show with your commissioner. As you see, I am solo with my library of books behind me like Adam Schefter. I got a breakdown of teams in the league, so I'm staying up to date. And if you look in the mirror, we will have some highlights playing. As always, I'm your commissioner. I will be your host today. I will break this down because I would love to go play some Call of Duty. Yes, I am in a robe. Yes, I am in commissioner's office. So welcome aboard. Never seen this before. Looking out the window, beautiful Sunnyside Bay. First and foremost, first matchup, we had the Dirty Randys. Oh, unofficial sponsor Fireball will not be joining us this week as it is a live show. They have a contractual obligation unofficially to appear on only shows with two people. It's a ratings deal. It's showbiz. You got to get through it, pull the punches. We do have Busch Light today, though, ladies and gentlemen, not to be concealed. Dirty Randys, 3-10 going this matchup. 8th place going against Boner Pills, who were 7-6 and 5th place going into this game. They needed this win to keep their playoff hopes alive. Boner Pills takes his revenge by beating Mason this time around. This was Mason's first win when these teams originally faced each other, and John beat him this time 112-107. Another tight game on both sides. This was the last one. My mage factors for John was Joe Mixon, who got him 14. That's pretty decent prediction right there. And mine for Mason was Tony Pollard. That's a pretty easy prediction. That's 14. That's 21 for him. Excuse me. 7 more than 14. Combine the two. Mason, 130-point score. That was the Pats' defense. You had 2 20-point scores. That was Geno Smith and the aforementioned Tony Pollard. Below potential for Mason. This is rough, baby. Buckle up for this one. Dalvin Cook, 8.6. Hollywood Brown, 5. T. Higgins, 0.0, man. Not good. He had 1 offensive snap before he was pulled. George Kittle, 5 points. Mike Evans, 6. Thanks, Donovan Smith. That would have been more for you, Mason, if not for him. He's having a horrible year. And Jason Myers got him 6 as well. Fun fact. The 3 stars of Mason, Pollard, pass defense, and Geno Smith combined for 75.81 points. That would have beaten Daniel, which we'll get to later. We'll get to his matchup later. That would have beaten Daniel. And only 6 points away from matching what Joe put up, his entire team. These are 3 people from Mason's team, a losing team, grant you, that would have beat 2 other people. We'll get to their place in the league, and maybe it'll make sense then. Boner Pills, your studs in this one were Jonathan Allen, 22, and you had the Bills' defense at 22.5. So, yes, Mason had more studs, but this is the important part. You're under the potential, the dreaded, you have to get above 10 points in fantasy land to be relevant on a weekly basis. These players did not. Latavius Murray, 5.4. Stephon Diggs, 5. Devin Singletary, 6, who as I had as one thought list to sit, if I can remind you. But you didn't listen to me. You started him, and he got you 5 points, John. So, touche. Mason falls to 3-11, 8th place, while Boner Pills advances to 8-6, takes 4th place. The last and final playoff spot. The playoffs end of the day, wish they don't, he would take it. Joe in this matchup had Mason. He was wrong on that, ladies and gentlemen. That's a big fat X right there. Do you know who the Swami or commissioner had in this one? The futurist that is Clay Major? I had John. Easy dubs, 1 for 1. I got that right. Joe's wrong. I got good leading predictions this week. This could be a good week for commissioner. Why? I'll tell you why. I'm on the chase for the Hurts. Went up into his matchup. That is the commissioner. Went into his matchup 9-4 in first place versus the Action Jacksons. 4-9 in 7th place. I'm on the chase. Won this matchup, ladies and gentlemen, in a come-from-behind shootout. Yes, a shootout on Monday night. Going into Monday night, it was the highest scoring game of the week. I had 171.87 to Mahendra's 153.49. With this win, your commissioner, have secured the first seed in the playoffs. So I will face the 4th seed, whoever that may be. Right now it's looking like John because he holds it. And he's got a good chance of maintaining it. We'll get to that, ladies and gentlemen. Clay sweeps the season series against Mahendra. That's another one. Get the broom out. Daniel, Mahendra, easy peasy. Easy peasy. Mason's also a sweep too. Don't forget that. That's 6-0 versus 3 guys. Easy peasy. Action Jacksons, you had 2 30-point scores. You gave me a scare. To be honest with you, I didn't even check my phone because I saw how good these two guys did, and I was like, damn it. So I didn't check it until Monday Night Football was over, until I actually had to write this script. I didn't know who won or lost. I really thought it might have been you in this one. Run CMC got you 33, and Miles Sanders got you 34.6. That was my one thought to start for you. So it actually pays off. Maybe somebody watches the show, ladies and gentlemen, get some insight from watching it. 34.6 paid off exponentially. The commissioner called it. Mahendra saw it. I even think I said in the show that I hope he doesn't do it, but it would be the right thing to say because it is the most logical move. 1 20-point score, that is Danny Dimes, 20.01. The 01 is really coming in handy there. Honorable mentions to the Ravens defense at 19. Under the potential was C.D. Lamb at 6 and Deontay Foreman. I didn't put his score, but he was under 10, I assure you. And Ray Gould at 5. Mahendra had a 153.49 lead to 149.34 advantage going into Monday night. Couldn't maintain it because mostly to my namesake, the final trio, the holy trinity of my year, Jalen Hurts. This man is an MVP. Give it to him. 33. I had 4 20-point scores. King Henry at 24, who is my mage factor. James the Terminator Connor, who came from behind to secure this victory for me, who's been on a tear these past 3 out of 4 weeks. 22.5. Jamar Chase, triumphant comeback. All the receivers go down for Cincinnati. Love it. You know it's going to be a big game regardless. So he had 25.6. And the Eagles defense got me 20 points to round out 5 players above 20 points. And boy, did I need them this week. As aforementioned, Mahendra had the second highest score of the week. Only 1 player below the 10-show for me, and it was a close one too. Travis Kelce barely fell under the 10-show at 9.10. A decent week for a tight end. Action Jacksons slips to 4-10, 7th place, with Amon the Chase for the Hurts moving to 10-4, the first 10-win team of the season, and sole possession of first place. Win or lose next week, ladies and gentlemen, I will be first seed in the playoffs. That's good news. Let Andrew and Tuna battle themselves out there. And Tuna could lose. And we'll get to this, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get to this. The predictions. Joe picked correctly. 1 for 2. He picked Clay. He was right on that one. That's 1 for 2. That's a good pick. That's a solid pick. Analytics would have told you to go with that pick. Clay went with Clay, of course, because Clay knows Clay better than anybody knows Clay. Commissioner Clay has Clay down all day, every day, by the bay. Go eat some hay. What do you say? 2 for 2. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, the 4 o'clock games. We have Hillier Hole, 8-5, 2nd place, versus Allergic to Playoffs, 6-7, in 6th place. Although still very much alive in the playoff hunt if he would have won this. Andrew beat him, so he did not win it. He sweeps Joe for the year and in the process sweeps away Joe's last playoff hopes, winning this one 147.02 to 81.38. Joe didn't even put up a fight in this. Andrew had 30. Andrew, in this matchup between the two of these guys, 2 front office people here, part of my league offices. In 2 games, Andrew put up 332.67, which is good for about 166 a game. Phenomenal. Great numbers, right? You would say Joe got screwed. Well, Joe didn't even show up to these games regardless. He put up 189.66, which is good for 85, 86 a game. Just incredible. These must-win games for him, and he has crumbled. He is the Kirk Cousins of our league, ladies and gentlemen. I kid you not. Andrew studs in this game. Austin Eckler, 21.53, and Josh Jacobs at 21, who was a mage factor for you. The Chiefs defense also got you 23 as well. Only 1 player below the 10-show, Andrew. Pound the table, baby. 1 player below the 10-show, Saquon Barkley, 6.5, who was my one thought to sit. I even said, start Zeke. I begged you to start Zeke, who ended up with 17. In quotations, I have told you so. So thank you, past self to future self. We were right on the same page there. Check that off as done. Joe Studs, there's one. Justin Herbert, 20.18. He's the only one that showed up. He accounted for, and this is not a joke, ladies and gentlemen. This is not hyperbole one bit. Accounted for 25% of Joe's score this week. One player, his quarterback. Absolutely fascinating case study. 6 players below the potential. 6 players below the potential. Travis Etienne, 4 points. Who was your mage factor for this one, Joe? In fact, I said when he's going, your team's winning specifically. And I'm wrong. As you will clearly see later, I rarely am. That's why I'm in first place. That's why I'm in a robe. I'm looking cozy in front of leather hardcover bound books. Rohandre Stevenson, 2.2. He left early, though. We'll have to give you a pass on that. Mark Andrews, number 1 tight end selected in the draft. 2.7 on the day. That's not looking good. In fact, he hasn't looked good in the past, I think we brought this up before, 7 weeks. DeAndre Hopkins, 9.4. That could have been in the 10s, but he had a costly fumble in the final drive there. And, of course, the Seahawks defense getting you 3. Panthers only play good football against good teams, Joe. You should understand that. That was a bad pick starting them. Andrew holds second place at 9-5, second place, while Joe officially gets eliminated from playoff contention. He was 5-3 at one point, ladies and gentlemen. 5-3, I believe, in third place in the league. He has since gone to 1-5, falling to 6-8 in sixth place on the year. And ladies and gentlemen, this isn't the biggest collapse of the season. This isn't the biggest collapse of the season either. And we're getting to that, okay? Joe's prediction in this one, he picked himself, the pompous ass. He picked himself. He didn't even bother to show up to the game. I don't even think he said a lineup, ladies and gentlemen. I know he said 6 names, but he might as well just not even started anybody with that effort. Man, there's no heart on that team. And that's why his name was allergic to playoffs all year, jinxed himself. Even the fantasy gods were like, Joe, you're 5-3. We got you here, bro. Please change your name. He looked back at the gods and whispered, no. And you paid for it, you sucker. You paid for it. You know who didn't pay for it, Joe? Your boy, Commissioner, because I picked Andrew Gennard in this one. I am a good for 3 for 3 on predictions. The Swami will be undefeated. Unless it gets spoiled. And everyone's favorite. America's fantasy football game of the week of the century. That was my William Shatner impression. We have Tuna. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood at 8-5. Third place. Credible winning streak right now. 5 games. Winning streak. Daniel, who the first 5 games of the year was the hottest team. Hottest team. Couldn't touch him. Not one bit. However, he is since on a 4-game losing streak. A 4-game losing streak for Daniel. This was the best team, as I said, ladies and gentlemen. He was the number 1 seed as of 3 weeks ago. What a fall from grace. 7-6 in 5th place. Outside the playoffs looking in. However, he could turn this around, ladies and gentlemen. He could fight for this. As you see, Joe lost. John won. If Dan wins, he will get that spot. Tuna wins 133.89 to 67.95. Series tied up on the year. You really have to try in an 8-man fantasy football league. Really have to try in an 8-man fantasy football league. I have to repeat this because it's just so crazy to me. To only manage 67.95 points. I couldn't divide this on a per average basis, but it would realistically, what would that be? Like 6.5 points a player? Good Lord. Good Lord. Oh, my goodness. Oh, jeez. Tuna, your studs in this game. Patrick Mahomes at 26, former damn player. I'm sure that really smarted him, just like when Travis Kelce burned him in our first matchup. Justin Jefferson, the Mage Factor, going into this game, got you 31 points. Previous matchup against the Lions, 2.9. That's why he was a Mage Factor. Because if he goes off, you're more than likely going to win your matchups. And Mike Williams. Joe, how would you like Mike Williams back right now? This man had the highest score of any player on your team this week, and you trade him to Tuna, and now Tuna's on a 5-game winning streak. God, make it make sense, people. Below the 10 sold for Tuna. Jamal Williams, 4.63. Devontae Adams at 8.6. And Noah Fant had 0.0. I do appreciate the Fant pickup, though. That is trying something with tight end. And honestly, worst game of the year came in the best situation for you. So no harm, no foul there. Daniel, you have no studs in this game. You had 2 players above 7 points. That was Deebo Samuel at 13. 2 players above 10 points. Deebo Samuel at 13. And he was actually my one thought to start for you because at the time you had Michael Carter going into this matchup and he only got you 1.63. So maybe you watch the show too and listen. Nothing can help your trash team. You like to call other rosters trash. You like to call the best roster in our fantasy football league trash. Well, sir, you are the trash. Eureka trash. Your fantasy decisions, Rika trash. You are trash. Kyler Murray, 0.74. He left the game early. Raheem Mostert, 5.83. Nick Chubb, 7.75. Chris Godwin, 8. Jalen Waddle. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Waddle. Do-do-do-do-do-do. That's not copyrighted, ladies and gentlemen. TJ Incredible Hawk had 9. Cowboys defense had 9. Everybody who's on the team had below incredible 7 players below 10 points. Absolutely stunning. As mentioned before, in his first 5 games, he was 5-0. He has since gone 2-7 in that sense. 2-7. That's good for the worst record in the past 9 games. Even Mason has 3 wins. Even Mahendra has 3 wins. Incredible. Daniel currently drowning in his roll pool. That is a 5-game losing streak. Falls to 7-7. Still in 5th place, though, with the Joe loss. Joe would have won. We'll get to that later. And now needs help to make the playoffs. Wow, ladies and gentlemen. Wow was written there. Tuna is the exact opposite. Going on a 5-game winning streak. As hot as can be going in the playoffs. Hot as magma. 6-game winning streak now. Excuse me. His 5-game is now a 6-game winning streak. This is incredible. This man was 3-5 in the first 8 games. He guaranteed himself a playoff berth with that victory. He can finish as either the 3rd, 2nd, or potentially 4th seed, depending on how things play out. More than likely, though, he will probably end up with that 3rd seed, with Mason being his opponent coming up here. And this one, Joe, you willed it to happen. You had Tuna. You go 2 for 4. I had Tuna. I'm 4 for 4. That's a perfect week for your commissioner. You can't write it better than that, ladies and gentlemen. With that being said, this is normally when I like to have my co-host participate, so you're going to have to excuse me while I do this myself. This is how it all started. Get ready for the original. If the playoffs started today, which they don't, the first 4 in would be Amon the Chase for the Hurts. 10-4, first place. The first one to 2,000 points. I was the first one to 1,000 points, too, if I'm not mistaken. 2,067.15 overall. I have the number 1 breakdown with a record of 70-28. Number 2 in the breakdown, which is if you went against everybody every week, would be Andrew, who's 60-38. So I have 10 more wins. I am dominant. Out of 100 games, I am winning 70% of them. Yeah, that's a Hall of Fame win percentage, ladies and gentlemen. We will get there. What are these things doing? Just got loops and shit. Number 5 in the coaching. Boo-hoo. I got a deep bench, deep team, so of course I'm not going to be that high up on there. Number 1 in the true stat at 28 points out of a possible 32. I am guaranteed the first seed in the playoff, ladies and gentlemen. If I lose my matchup next week to Andrew, we will have the same identical records. You're absolutely correct. But Andrew would need 130 more points than whatever it is I score. On top of matching that too. Just incredible. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to be Daniel and put up 67 points and just I don't know what he was doing there. Still crazy to think about. Next up, second seed in this, we have Hillier Hole. He is 9-5, second place currently at 1950 points scored overall, 50 points from 2000. Congratulations. Second place in the points standing, so he does have the tiebreaker. That's why he will more than likely maintain the second seed overall, ladies and gentlemen. Number 2 in breakdown, 60-38. Number 4 in coach, and number 2 in true at 26. He will either be the second or the third seed, depending on how this next person stacks up. Next pick is the Mr. Rogers neighborhood at 9-5, third place. Like I said, that 5-game winning streak, absolutely incredible. However, and also, ladies and gentlemen, Tuna was like the sixth scorer, like the sixth most points scorer in the league 3 weeks ago. Flash forward to now, he is now number 4 at 1809. He is tied fourth in breakdown. He is number 2 in coach, number 3 in true, and number 24 in true. No, number 3 in true at 24. He's guaranteed for the third seed, no matter what. I'm sorry. He's guaranteed for third seed with a win or loss. With a win. With a loss by John, he would get the third seed with a loss by John and a win. He can potentially get to number 2 with a loss from Andrew. Oh, no, he can't get to number 2. What am I thinking? Oh, yes, no, because of the records. With an Andrew loss, Tuna would be number 2 seed, which wouldn't matter. So practically what I'm saying is that's going to be your playoff matchup of number 2 and number 3, ladies and gentlemen. College football playoff. Break down the first 4 in. It would be Andrew and Tuna. Who will the number 1 seed claim major face? Well, if the playoffs started today, which they don't, it would be Boner Pills at 8-6, currently in 4th place. 1,800.7 points. That's 9 points away from Tuna for the points tiebreaker. So Jonathan could own the tiebreaker over Tuna, and with a Tuna loss and Jonathan win, potentially get to a third seed. Oh, so I didn't lock it in. So that's not locking in, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take that all back. Tied fourth in breakdown with Tuna is Boner Pills. He is the number 1 in the coach standings because his bench is doo-doo. And he is tied fourth at the true at 22 points, along with the next competitor, which we'll get to. With a win, John will clinch the final playoff seed. With a win, no matter what else happens, all he has to do is win next week, or this week, which we're going to find out where that game places because it ranks highly on the schedule. With a loss and a Daniel win, he would fall out due to tiebreakers. Why? Because the first 4 out of the playoffs, the outside looking in, the number 5 seed, Daniel, the last remaining team on the outside looking in that could potentially get a playoff berth. Because all the other ones are losers and they're out of here. They couldn't hang with it. They're gone. They put up a fight. Some of them did. Kind of. Not last week. But here we are. Fantasy Messiah is 7-7, 5th place. You have 1,835 points. That's good for third. So you technically have the tiebreakers over both Tuna and Boner Pills. However, Boner Pills with a loss is the only way you can match a record with one of those two. You need a lot to happen. We'll break that down more. You're number 3 in the breakdown, coincidentally enough. You're number 3 in the coach, and you're tied 4th with John at 22 points. So very neck and neck there. This is coming down to the wire. You will need to beat Mahendra this week. Mahendra wanted to play spoilers last week. He is on the spoiler train right now, if you will, for lack of a better word, spoiler bus. And Joe would have to beat John for you to make the playoffs. You beating Mahendra and Joe beating John is the only way you can get in the playoffs at this point. If John wins, it's over. Like I said before, John wins, nothing else matters. So you do have to root for your win and a John loss, Daniel, and you to put up good scores. Because if John just does score 40 more points than what you put up, it is over as well. What is this? Is that spit? Was that spit? Did you see that white thing on there? Gross. Gross. Moving on, allergic to playoffs, officially eliminated, 6-8, sixth place. His best hopes is maybe getting to fifth place. That's the best hopes for him. He is 6th in the points scored, which is incredible because just last week he had tiebreakers over a lot of people. He is number 6 in the breakdown, number 6 in the coach, and number 6 in the true at 12 points, a whole 10 points away from the next closest, which is Daniel and Jonathan. The next person eliminated was Mahendra, 4-10, 7th place, 7th in points scored, true score of 7. And Mason, you were also eliminated many weeks ago. You finished in 8th in points, 8th in breakdown, 7 in coach, and 8 in true at only 5 points out of 32. That has been that, ladies and gentlemen. This has been my show. Thank you for joining me live. Thank you to our unofficial Not Here sponsor, Fireball, our unofficial Here sponsor, Bush. And thank you for joining me. Welcome to the Commish offices, and good night. See you next week, guys. Yeah, and duh. Jeez.